Have you ever felt like you were standing alone, like everyone around you doubted you, mocked you, and questioned your choices? Now imagine if God Himself spoke to you and gave you a seemingly impossible task. How would you respond? Would you hesitate, or would you step forward in faith? Today we journey to a time long before the biblical kings of Israel, long before nations and empires as we know them today. This is the story of Noah, a man whose extraordinary faith changed the course of human history. Let me paint the scene for you. The world was corrupt and filled with violence. People had turned away from God, immersed in their earthly desires and wickedness. Greed, hate, and cruelty overshadowed the light of morality. In the midst of this, God looked down with sorrow upon the state of humanity. But in the midst of the darkness, there was a flicker of righteousness. Noah, a man of unwavering faith and integrity. One day, Noah heard the voice of God. It wasn't an ordinary moment. No angelic fanfare, no thunderous proclamations, just the voice of God speaking to him. "Noah," God said, "the time has come for the earth to be cleansed. The wickedness of man has reached its peak. Behold, I shall send a flood to cover the earth, destroying every living thing. But you, Noah, have found favor in my eyes. You and your family will be spared." Imagine Noah for a moment. A simple man, going about his days, suddenly chosen to carry the weight of such a monumental task. "Build an ark," God instructed. "It must be massive, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Construct it with gopher wood and waterproof it with pitch, inside and out. Make rooms within, for it shall house you, your family, and 2 of every kind of living creature." The enormity of the task must have been staggering. Noah was not a shipbuilder, and there were no oceans near his land, only arid deserts and distant rivers. Anyone would have been tempted to hesitate or question such an instruction. But Noah stood firm. He gathered his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and began the colossal endeavor. They worked tirelessly, their hands splintered and cracked from the wood, their muscles aching with every cut and hammer of the tools. Yet they did not stop. Now picture the community around Noah. Imagine the mockery he endured. As his neighbors passed by, they likely laughed, jeered, and shook their heads. "Noah," they might have called out, "are you mad? Building a ship in the middle of nowhere? Do you see an ocean nearby? What flood are you talking about?" Noah's faith remained unshaken. With every insult hurled his way, he glanced at the sky, remembering God's promise. He knew his task wasn't about pleasing people, but about obedience to the Creator. Day after day, year after year, the ark took shape, towering higher and higher. Its massive doors and levels were constructed meticulously, each precise to God's instructions. Soon the ark stood complete, a monument of faith amidst a climate of disbelief. Then, the next miracle began. From the forested hills and open plains, animals began to arrive, a spectacle they'd likely never seen before. Lions walked alongside deer, leopards beside sheep. Birds of all colors filled the air, their calls echoing through the valley. The people must have been baffled. Yet even this didn't change their hardened hearts. God instructed Noah to bring 7 pairs of every clean animal, 1 pair of every unclean animal, and also provisions for his family and the animals. Noah's household followed God's commands, moving everything into the ark. And when the last creature stepped onto the ship, Noah and his family entered as well. Suddenly, the massive door of the ark was sealed, not by Noah, but by the hand of God Himself. Then came the rain. At first, it might have seemed no different than a typical drizzle. People carried on with their daily tasks, still chuckling about Noah and his giant boat. But the skies darkened, and the rain turned into a torrential downpour. Rivers swelled beyond their banks, and the earth burst forth with water from below. It wasn't long before every valley and plain transformed into a vast sea. People ran in all directions, terrified, shouting in panic, "What is happening?" For 40 days and nights, the skies released their wrath, and the waters covered the earth. Every mountain was submerged. But inside the ark, there was safety. Noah and his family, along with the animals, floated above the chaos, a representation of God's covenant and protection. Now, it's easy to focus on the destruction. But there's something deeper here, a message of hope. Because after the waters subsided, after the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat, the world saw a new beginning. From the ark, life emerged. Noah built an altar, and he and his family prayed, offering sacrifices of thanksgiving to God. And then came the promise. The skies cleared, and a magnificent rainbow spread across the heavens, a sign of God's covenant with humanity. "Never again," God proclaimed, "shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." The rainbow would serve as an eternal reminder of God's mercy and faithfulness. So, what can we take away from Noah's story? It's more than just a tale of a man and an ark. It's about unwavering obedience, faith in the face of doubt, and the willingness to walk alone when the entire world seems against you. It's a reminder that even in the midst of judgment, there is grace, and through faith, we can rise above life's storms. Maybe you're facing ridicule for a decision you've made, or perhaps you feel like the odd one out because of your beliefs. Noah's story reminds us that sometimes standing alone in faith is the most powerful thing we can do. Trust in God's plan, even when it doesn't make sense to everyone around you. The ark didn't just carry Noah and the animals, it carried a legacy of faith, a testimony to the power of God's promises. Friends, remember the rainbow. It's a symbol that even when the storm seems endless, there is hope. Even when the sky grows dark, brighter days are ahead. The key is trusting, obeying, and believing in God's plan, just as Noah did. Thank you for joining me in this journey through one of the most incredible stories in the Bible. Remember, faith can move mountains, or in Noah's case, it can help you survive a flood and start anew. See you in the next episode.